Hello there friends and welcome. For today's Pathfinder build, we have a very fun and very powerful two-handed fighter that can easily achieve the most absurd amount of two-handed damage possible, while also combined with a ×7 critical multiplier and pretty much 50% critical chance. On a critical hit we actually deal more than 900 damage, and this is just the first part of our attack, because all of these other procs here also come from the same attack as usual. So yes, you are certainly dealing more than 1200 damage just from a single critical hit. Meanwhile, on a normal hit we have 131 damage here, just the first part, then still 41, 35, 13, 42, 12 and 11. So it's close to 300 damage that you can expect on a normal hit. And yes, we are going Trickster. I know I have plenty of Trickster builds, but what can I say? The Trickster Mythic is especially amazing for this character. We not only gain free sneak attack progression, something any melee character would want, a full scaling wizard spellbook, even up to level 9 spells, for a lot of powerful self buffs, including to get our elemental barrage combo going, and of course the most insane critical range possible, for tons of free attacks and huge damage. This build will also combine the fun Intimidate feats to easily shaken enemies around your character, so you can proc the highly useful Shatter Defenses feat to hit the enemy's flat-footed armor class. So without further ado, let us get started on our two-handed fighter build. Alright, so when it comes to class for a two-handed fighter, well, I think it's a given, so fighter and two-handed fighter. The fighter class is very solid by itself, and two-handed fighter comes with some pretty nice bonuses. Your main weapon training ability is actually replaced by two-handed weapon training, which means it applies to all two-handed weapons in the game. You don't have to choose a category of weapons, which is perfect since two-handed weapons are great, especially the great axe you'll be choosing. Your other main abilities are, well, first we have Overhand Chop. Whenever you make a single attack, either through a standard action or charging, you'll add double your strength bonus on damage rolls, which is perfect for the early game where we are still locked to just a single attack basically, especially since this works with charge. Our strength modifier is also going to be high as soon as the early game, so enemies are mostly going to get one shot with this. Second, at level 7 we get Backswing. Whenever you make a full attack with a two-handed weapon, you'll add double your strength modifier on damage rolls for all attacks after the first. It's somewhat of a weird ability, but basically all your other attacks besides the first will get this double damage bonus added. Because you can eventually get around 5 to 6 melee attacks with two-handed weapons with this build, it's a lot of attacks that you'll be getting this bonus. Now at level 15 you actually gain your strongest two-handed fighter special passive, so this isn't really a class that you'll want to multi-class away from, and it is Greater Power Attack. When using Power Attack with a two-handed melee weapon, the bonus damage from Power Attack will actually be doubled instead of increased by half. When you consider Mythic Power Attack and our huge strength modifier, this will add a lot of nice damage. Lastly, at level 20 we actually have the Fighter Capstone, Weapon Mastery, and trust me, this is a very powerful ability, certainly worth remaining a pure two-handed fighter. With this we can increase the critical damage multiplier of our weapon by another ×1. It's another reason why I really like going Trickster with this build, so you can actually end up with a ×7 critical multiplier when combined with a SKALD. It doesn't get any higher than that, especially considering we'll have around 50% critical hit chance or even 100% late game with the Trick Fate Trickster special spell. So overall this is a pretty stacked class and you'll get a lot of extra damage from it. Plus we don't really lose anything noticeable. For race, you know, as a fighter we have a lot of extra bonus feats, so you can go with anything you want, but I do prefer human as usual for the early feat power during the early game, and we won't be running off nice feats until around late game, by the way, so human can matter too. But anyways, if you aren't going with human, then Tiefling and Motherless is always a great choice for the extra free bite attack per round. For the background selection, for a martial character, you know, Street Urchin and then Pickpocket, it doesn't get any better than that, since we already have proficiency with all of the weapons we need, so the bonus to initiative can help. As far as ability points allocation, you certainly want max strength, so 19 at character creation. Now, 12 intelligence and 12 charisma are pretty important as you're going Trickster, and the main Trickster spellbook is based on charisma. Meanwhile, the wizard spellbook that you'll also get from Trickster is based on intelligence. 12 is more than enough for both, because you can just get the rest through headbands of mental perfection. As far as dexterity, I would start with around 12 and 14 constitution. What you can do, however, is dump wisdom, since it's not really necessary for us, and then let's say start with 14 dexterity, for more attacks of opportunity and a little more initiative. And this build can get combat reflexes pretty early. When it comes to your skill points, athletics is a must, not just because of high strength, but also the synergy this will have with the Trickster Athletics Mythic Trick. Besides that, persuasion, because this will be an intimidate build to combo nicely with Shatter Defenses and Dreadful Carnage. Plus it's always nice for dialogue checks, even if you won't have high charisma. I'd also recommend use Magic Device, because of Trickster eventually getting unlimited use on wands, especially for the Wand of Heal, and the last skill point is up to you. Alright, so let's talk about our level 1 feats for our two-handed fighter, and this build will get a massive amount of feats. There's around 11 just from fighter bonus feats, besides normal progression. The first one is the usual package for two-handed fighters. Power attack, cleave, and since we are a human, we also get cleaving finish right at level 1. There's no words to say how good this feels, because you have a potential of 3 attacks just at level 1. One normal, the other from cleave, and the third from cleaving finish if you kill an enemy. Something that will be done since we have huge damage from our two-handed weapon attacks. As far as the bonus from power attack, I would leave it off for the beginning of the game and only turn it on somewhat later. For deity, go with any deity that allows the Trickster alignment. I think Gorom is a great choice, as this is the god of battle, and he also has the Trickster alignments here, so I'd go with chaotic neutral. For your level 2 feat, combat reflexes, we do start with a +2 bonus to dexterity, so we already have +2 extra attacks of opportunity. And since at the beginning of the game you want reach weapons, it's very easy to get attacks of opportunity going, especially if you have a caster with the Grease spell. For level 3, weapon focus, and as I said before, the weapon we are going to specialize in is Great Axe for the super overpowered Gravesinger Great Axe. By far the ultimate weapon for any critical and trickster build. At level 4, increase strength, which is also what you're going to increase on all of the other levels. And then get weapon specialization and Great Axe. As usual, it is true that this character can get outflank as early as level 4. The problem is this is a teamwork feat, and most of my other party members can only get access to it starting from level 7, which is why I delay it for 7. For level 5, go with Blind Fight. Blind Fight not only grants you immunity to gaze attacks, but most importantly can highly help you hit enemies that have concealment, and some of them can appear even early game like shadows and so on. For level 6, go with Intimidating Prowess. This lets you add your strength modifier to your persuasion skill when intimidating, and since we have massive strength, that's a massive boost we are getting. Perfect to get started on our Intimidate combo, which will fully come online at level 11. Then at level 7, Outflank of course. As for level 8, the choice is very simple. Improved critical and Great Axe. By default, Great Axes don't have the best critical, but as soon as around level 9 or level 10, you'll be at chapter 3 and you can quickly rush for the Gravesinger Great Axe. For level 9, this is when I would get Dazzling Display. You aren't really going to be using this, it's just for Shatter Defenses and Dreadful Carnage, which we are getting very soon. I'd rather delay Greater Weapon Focus a bit, because you know it's just +1 to attack bonus, it's not the end of the world, especially since we have lots of bonuses already. And trust me, it's better to get the Intimidate combo as early as possible. And then at level 10, Shatter Defenses. The reason is the Dreadful Carnage feat, which will intimidate all the other enemies for free when we kill a single enemy, requires 11 base attack bonus, so we can only get it at level 11, which is right after this. And of course for level 11, as I've just said, Dreadful Carnage, so now our Intimidate combo is at full power, and we'll easily be able to proc Shatter Defenses. At level 12, Greater Weapon Specialization and Great Axe. Now this is important, as usual for any Trickster build, before getting into level 13 progression, be sure to acquire the Perception rank 1 and 2 Mythic Tricks from Trickster Mythic Progression, which should be at Mythic rank 4. Alright, so the choice at 13 is simple. Improved critical and Great Axe. When you combine all of the special Trickster critical feats with our super OP Great Axe, your character will be doing massive amounts of damage. Do note that you cannot get the Trickster special feats through fighter bonus feats, only normal progression feats. At level 14, this is when I would pick Greater Weapon Focus and Great Axe. As for level 15, the second Trickster special feat, and at last we gain our extremely overpowered greater power attack ability. Now starting from level 16 onwards, as far as your 3 remaining fighter bonus feats, you actually have freedom here, because we truly already have the best feats, so you can go with anything you want. I personally recommend getting Improved Initiative here, as at this point the enemies start to get way higher initiative, and we don't really have high dexterity. For level 17, the last Trickster special critical feat, Improved, Critical Improved. So for a level 18 bonus feat you can pick anything you want. I actually like going with Arcane Strike here, because at this point you already have the Wizard spellbook. This means an extra +5 stacking damage to your attacks. It only costs a swift action, which you know as a melee character we aren't going to be using anyways, so you can always have this on. As for level 19, the best choice here in my humble opinion would be Meta Magic Completely Normal Spell. As I said, you already have the full Wizard spellbook at this point, and this adds a massive amount of flexibility to your spellbook, including the Trickster spellbook, for more casts of the Ultimate Trick Fate spell, for example. But you can also go with Stat Focus and then Attack. It's just a +1 bonus to AB, and overall I think what you get from Completely Normal Spell is a lot more efficient. At level 20 you get your Fighter Capstone Weapon Mastery, which does actually make it worth having a full fighter instead of multiclassing. And of course you want to choose Great Axe. As for your last fighter bonus feat, once again it can be anything you want. You might as well pick Cornugon Smash here, or even pick it earlier, like instead of Improved Initiative at 16. The thing is, you know, at this point, even with our Persuasion Intimidate combo, your casters can already cast the Frightful Aspect spell, which automatically shakens any enemy. Critical Focus works, but our attack bonus is super high anyways. Or even Dodge for +1 to armor class, which is kinda useless for us. So you can go with anything, it won't really matter. Alright, so now let us talk Mythic Progression for our two-handed fighter. The choice is very simple, Close to the Abyss, the best for most melee characters, because of the free gore attack we are getting. You'll gain a lot of bonus damage from this based on your strength modifier, which will be huge for a fighter. If you don't care for the gore attack though, and want to buff your allies with Holy for bosses and tough encounters, go with Instrument of Freedom. And then as far as your first mythic ability, honestly Last Stand is my preferred pick here. There's nothing that does quite as much as Last Stand for most melee characters not so early, especially if you are on hard or unfair. Since we are a character that will always be at melee range, basically being able to avoid death for 2 whole rounds can matter a lot, especially on your main character. The other mythic abilities we'll be getting to enhance our melee power, because they scale based on the number of mythic ranks you have, it's better to get them later on. For mythic rank 2, definitely Mythic Improved Critical and Great Axe. This character can get it at this level because you usually get mythic rank 2 at around level 8 to 9, and as a fighter we can get the normal Improved Critical at level 8 as well. For mythic rank 3, Ever Ready. As I said before, this character will get a massive amount of attacks of opportunity because of all of the critical hits we are getting through Trickster, and then when you combine it with Outflank. So Ever Ready is going to highly increase your damage and AB. As far as the Trickster mythic tricks, remember that I already have a full Trickster guide, linked to the side here or in the description where I cover this in depth. I'll keep it shorter for now. So Knowledge Arcana rank 1 is always the best early choice. For the Trickster spells, you know, focus on the buffs. As for Mythic rank 4, I'd first get Mythic Power Attack, since this adds a lot of extra damage for us. And at this point you have more than enough attack bonus boosts to make up for the power attack penalty to AB. Now your Mythic trick choice as always is super important at Mythic 4. Perception rank 1 and Perception rank 2 to qualify for the super overpowered special Trickster critical feats. So at this point you're safe to progress your character from level 13 onwards. For Mythic level 5, if you have a SKALD to provide pounds for your party members, then I would definitely go with Mythic Charge, as this will highly enhance your damage. And as a two-handed fighter, well, we are all about massive damage. Otherwise, you can go with Unrelenting Assault or Thundering Blows. For another Mythic trick here, Athletics rank 1. For Mythic level 6, Mythic Weapon Specialization and Great Axe. Then be sure to pick Infuse Magic Device and Reuse Magic Device to set us up for the Wizard Spellbook at the next rank. For Mythic level 7, Elemental Barrage without a doubt, as we all have the Wizard Spellbook at this point, which means you can easily proc Elemental Barrage through Genie Kind and Firebrand spells. Then Knowledge World rank 1. And of course, use Magic Device rank 3 for the Wizard spellbook. For Mythic level 8, Mythic Weapon Focus and Great Axe. So the reason I don't bother with the Persuasion line for this Trickster character is that it's not really powerful until the last trick, which is Persuasion rank 3. And since there is nothing better than the Wizard spellbook early or Perception rank 2, well, I just don't find it useful. I mean, for the late game you can get it like at Mythic 10, but before that, I don't think it's going to be as effective as the other choices. But anyways, I'd go with Law Religion here, and then your improved Mythic trick, definitely World 2, because this will actually increase your critical chance by even another point. Lastly, it also prevents failing saving throws when rolling a 1, which is a really big quality of life change. For Mythic level 9, you can actually pick any Mythic ability you want here. Like for example, if you want more armor class, Archmage Armor, since you can't cast the Wizard or the Trickster spells in armor, or Thundering Blows and Unrelenting Assault as I said before. Then what you can do now is, well, if you want Persuasion rank 3 for Mythic level 10, you'll pick Persuasion rank 1 here, then rank 2 here, and at Mythic 10, as a greater Mythic trick, Persuasion 3. Otherwise, I'd definitely pick Lore Nature 1, Athletics rank 2, this will pretty much always make you pass any saves in the game, even on unfair. As from Mythic level 10, Mythic Improved Initiative as a feat, and well, your tricks will depend on what I said before, so you can go for Persuasion rank 3 here, or Knowledge World rank 3. Knowledge World 3 is super overpowered because it lets any character in your party, pets included, bypass any feat requirement. So yes, you will have access to any feat even at level 1. So what you can do is respect your party members, so they will have even overpowered feats just at level 1. It's complete free for all feat selection. Alright, so when it comes to gear selection for our two-handed fighter, the amulet, you know, always will access Magnifying Amulet for the bonus to strength, so we can get even higher than 50 strength eventually. When it comes to armor, you know, for the early game, you won't really have access to the Wizard spellbook or even some Trickster spells. But both the Wizard and the Trickster spells you'll get have Arcane Spell Failure, so just be careful when you start getting them, because if you use armor, you will miss some spells. Anyways, for the early game, you definitely want to go with Breastplates, or just full plate as well. And once you start getting your spells, change into Haramakis, because they don't have Spell Failure, still give you +1 armor, even more when you consider the armor enhancement value. And they come with pretty nice effects. This one, for example, has +4 sacred bonus to all saving throws. As for the robe and the clothing slot, early game it kinda doesn't matter, but starting from chapter 3 and 4, you can get Cloths of Heavy Fortification for some critical hit and sneak attack immunity. Eventually you get a wizard spell that just blocks it anyways. The Robe of the Seven Sins is not as important for this character, but it can still increase your caster level by +3, which does result in higher duration for the wizard spells. When it comes to the belt slot, early game you want belts of strength, later on belts that increase both strength and constitution, or all of them at once. However, if you have a SKALD party member, which you absolutely should, the Mangling Frenzy belt will become by far the best, because this is a critical focus character, and with this belt, every critical hit will deal an additional 4d6 slashing damage, that's quite a lot, whenever you are raging, including SKALD Song, which is basically rage for your whole party. The best gloves are by far Fence's Gift, not only because of the extra bonus to two-handed weapons, and we do have a two-handed Great Axe here, also because it does even increase your bonus from fighter weapon training, and well, our two-handed fighter does have weapon training. When it comes to the boot slots, either the Boots of Stampede, if you want to charge, especially with a SKALD for pounds, as we do have high athletics, or the usual, you know, Ronak's Sacrifice. As far as helmets, early on you want helmets that increase your charisma so that you can eventually cast all of the Trickster spells, but later headbands of both intelligence and charisma for the wizard spellbook. Most importantly, headbands of mental perfection, including Darkness Caress, which is the best of them all. Depending on how early you are in the game, you can also go with some other utility helmets like Demonic Resentment, if you have a SKALD, or the helmet of Durable Cavalier for +1 to armor class, although armor class kinda doesn't matter much for us. As far as the goggles of Piercing Gaze are by far the best here. The Insight bonus is nice against demons, but most importantly, since this is an Intimidate build, the +10 competence bonus to Persuasion will help a lot. For the cloak slot, Cloaks of Resistance with the highest modifier. The special Trickster Mythic Cloak is, well, to put it simply, garbage. As for rings, the Ring of Evasion as usual to avoid Area of Effect damage. especially from Mythic Demon spellcasters. Lastly, the Ring of Imminent Demise can also help this build. Whenever you make an attack of opportunity, the enemy has to pass a Fortitude of DC 26, saving throw, or be knocked down. The DC isn't really high, but anyways, this build will have tons of attacks of opportunity. Lastly, the competence bonus to both attack and damage with two-handed weapons is quite helpful, especially as far as damage, since SKALDs cannot provide competence to damage, only bards can. For the braces slots, you basically have two options: braces of armor, especially if you aren't going to be wearing any armor, or the bracers of abrupt onslaught to increase your sneak attack damage, as we do get free sneak attack progression as a trickster. As far as the weapon, well, the Gravesinger Great Axe is the ultimate critical weapon in the entire game, with the highest critical damage multiplier possible, times 3 by default, 4 with the Fighter Capstone, 5 with Mythic Weapon Critical, 6 with the Trickster Improved Critical Feat, and 7 with a SKALD. That's a lot of extra damage for a critical, especially when you consider the huge damage we have by default. Now, this weapon is only really achievable at around chapter 3, so for the very early game, go with other two-handed weapons, especially glaives and bardicious for the reach, or most importantly the wide sweep sight during chapter 2, as this weapon is quite OP as well. When it comes to your Quickslots, the Wand of Heal, since we have unlimited uses of this as a trickster with the UMD rank 2 trick, a greater quicken meta magic rod, mostly to quicken the Trick Fate spell, but basically 100% critical chance, the Dragon Familiar Jarsegags for even higher damage with Elemental Barrage, through more procs, the Signet of House Vespertilio to increase the skill of choice, usually Persuasion, but you can also go with Athletics. And well, since we do have Trickster buffs and later Wizard buffs, the Extend Meta Magic line of rods can also help for higher duration, as we aren't getting 24 hours through enduring spells with this build. Well, alright friends, so this was it from my two-handed fighter guide. If you found it useful, please remember to like, subscribe, and even consider becoming a channel member for some neat exclusive content. Thank you for watching, and see you next time, friends.